Welcome, Leo, to your in-depth monthly forecast for February 2024 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you some brief standouts to look out for, but please stay with me. I will explore in much greater depth all the ins and outs for you for this month. You can ascend above this zodiac broadcast and understand the power of more serious astrology. If you give me 3 pieces of your personal birth data, of time, date and place, or date and place if you don't know your time, I can produce for you your life roadmap report, your character analysis. This is the foundation for all of our interactions in our lives. We're not totally ruled by it. We can work with it and evolve, but understanding it gives us so many insights to the patterns that have played out in our life so far. Also, you can get your 12-month forecast based on the moving planets in the sky and how they interact with your unique blueprint. Also, if you order with the link below now, you can get 30% off, but you also get my Zodiac, Love, Chinese and Indian Year 2024 booklets totally free of charge. Please see the link below for more. So Leo, as you make your way into February, the Sun and the deep Pluto are in your sector of relating. And there's no doubt about it that this month does have a huge emphasis on that part of your situation. But initially, Mercury, Venus and Mars are all in the sign of Capricorn, which is where, of course, Pluto was until the 21st of January. All but 11 weeks last year, since 2008. Pluto is very much about transformations. And since then, over that 16-year period, I think you've made huge sacrifices. But you've also worked extremely hard and diligently. You have a reputation of being the most radiant of all the zodiac signs. And that may be true, but Pluto is such a profound influence. That amount of sacrifice and industry that you've had to show hasn't made it always easy for you to showcase your talent. And what this month is going to do is see the transition really pick up speed, which sees you step forwards and start to engage with other people a lot more. And this is going to be really important for all sorts of relationships. But you get a great help on the 5th when the Sun in Aquarius forges a beautiful link to Chiron. Chiron, along with the North Node, is in a very expansive, adventurous part of your situation, the 9th house. If you're talking to someone about a travel plan around the 5th, whether it's a friend, someone you share a joint interest with, or perhaps it is going to see something that's very exciting from a cultural viewpoint that can provide some kind of uplift to your spirits. Chiron, of course, is very much about healing, and the 9th house is knowledge but travel. So, for example, if you're going with a friend to a spa or a retreat, or you were going to see a show, something that lifted your spirits, it could still be very restorative to you in terms of your overall health. But also on the 5th, Mercury moves out of the sign of Capricorn. Now, since it's been there, and it was a complex journey because it actually began on the 1st of December and then it rotated in an inverted way back into Sagittarius on the 23rd of December. Then it went direct in terms of the retrograde on the 2nd of January and then back into Capricorn on the 14th of January. So it's been a very complex process. But one of the things it has been is a bit brittle. And maybe you found yourself analysing some details in quite a big way. But I feel that Mercury moving into the 7th house means when you're discussing things, there can be a bit more detachment. Mercury loves being in Aquarius. It's exalted in this sign. It's an air sign, of course. And this can help you to exchange ideas in a very free way. And crucially, it is exactly conjunct with Pluto. So if you did have a very meaningful conversation, Mercury, about something that was important to you, a relationship or an opportunity, a contractual situation, you're going to be very intently engaging with this, but you're going to find the other person will too. But the 9th sees a new moon. A new moon in your sector of relationships is absolutely stunning. The issue, however, is that Uranus, the planet of rebellion, squares up to this event. And in fact, the square goes on really from the 5th through to the 11th. So this is a new moon with benefits, but also some challenges. So for example, if you're trying to reach an accord with someone who wants you to comply with what they want, Uranus can see you in a way pushing back a little bit. You've worked hard and been very sacrificing over those last 15 or 16 years, but now you're wanting more recognition for what you bring to the situation. So the other party needs to respect that. If they do, whether it's in a romantic situation, whether it's around a friendship, whether it's around working together on a business idea with a friend, that's fine. But you're wanting to be really true to that freer spirit that Uranus has been provoking within you. But on the 13th, Mars moves into Aquarius too, and that goes side by side with Pluto. Now, I have to be honest, this is one of the most intense aspects you can possibly get in astrology. If there's someone you're drawn to, and even if you're quite a reserved and shy Leo, this combination can give you so much will and life force to actually make something happen. You could find yourself really committing to connecting or reaching out or communicating with someone in a very direct way. Now, equally, Pluto can be the planet of endings. So if there's a relationship which isn't working so well, it could come to an end because you're going to articulate your power in a much more vociferous way. So for example, the 7th house isn't just about relating, it's about our boundaries. And Mars and Pluto on your 7th house is going to make you far from being a pushover. So if you've lent into someone's needs, heard what they've got to say, you've been very sacrificing, potentially for a very long period of time, perhaps a shorter period of time. Mercury's certainly been invoking the conversation. The new moon, the potential, you can set your intentions, but Mars and Pluto is very serious. And it could be an incredibly powerful make or an incredibly powerful break. It just depends, and of course this coincides with Valentine's Day. Venus comes in as the sweetener, the soother, on the 16th, and in fact Venus and Mars are going to be in a lovely alliance for the last 2 weeks of this month. Perhaps that combination of Mars and Pluto, then Venus, is actually going to see some very frank discussions, whether it's at work, whether it is with a colleague, whether it's with a boss, whether it's with a long-standing partner, or whether it's with someone you really fancy. There is going to be a lot of intensity, but there is something that can really that is really good that can come from this if you feel a lot more heard. Because one of the frustrations of Pluto moving through your 6th house for so long is that perhaps someone or people have begun to take it as the default that you'll always go that extra mile on their behalf without actually considering the sacrifices you're making for them. And I feel that you are therefore going to stand up your viewpoint. Now, if you do go to an interview, for example, or you meet a competitor, you're going to have a lot of desire and willpower not to be beaten in that tussle. So it's a complex set of energies at the heart of this month, for sure. Now, the 16th to the 18th also sees Mercury in a wired up right angle to Uranus. There could be something that gets changed at work quickly and unexpectedly, which could prove frustrating. But on the 19th, the Sun moves into the sign of Pisces. It's going to be joined by Mercury on the 23rd. We also have a full moon on the 24th in the sign of Virgo. So for you, that's accentuating the 2nd, 8th house polar axis. The 2nd house is very much about self-worth, everyday money, food, believe it or not. The sign of Virgo, the host, can be also about food, but in terms of being virtuous and making sure we're having good nutrition. The eighth house on the other side of the heavens is where we're most invested, devoted, but there lies the really cool and steely energies of Saturn. So however much the discussion goes on at the heart of this month, the outcome is going to be decided in the last 5 days. Because what Saturn does in a very underestimated way is tests. Sometimes it tests things to destruction, but very often it tests us in a way that proves that something is viable. And that's why Saturn can be such a positive. And what's going to happen here around your finances, you're going to be asked to really be serious about making sure the ins and outgoings are working properly. Now, we all know that the incomings have not necessarily kept up with the outgoings over the last year and a half. So it could be a little bit of a sobering moment, but it also can be about shared finances. So again, if you feel that someone's been assuming of your goodwill, not just in terms of your time and your thoughtfulness and your good deeds, but also your money, then that can be another part of the intense conversations you're set to have towards the end of this month. But with Venus and Mars in a combination, in a conjunction, something good can come from this. I feel it depends on the type of person you are. If you're someone who manifestly dislikes confrontation, this month is pushing you to really say how you feel. If you're someone who doesn't have any problem about confrontation, you need to make sure that you're not trying to dominate the conversation to your benefit and that you are hearing where the other person is coming from. The other thing that can happen with a lot of seventh house energy is that we can have a lot of harmonizing, flowing conversations, but not much bite, especially when it comes to sex, putting it frankly. So if you encounter someone new that you really like in the middle of the month, on the back of that new moon and Mars and Venus joining with Pluto, that in itself is a pretty hefty combination. But by the end of the month, you'll be finding out if there is going to be a connection that's binding, because the eighth house is about where we really get close and intimate. And Saturn, as I said, can test out the viability. So will its coolness see you think, well, I really like this person, but you know, there's no spark. You are a fire sign. You need to feel there is some drama. If something is a bit workaday, a bit too practical, yes, you may feel this is a relationship that has certain potential. It could be very good for a business partnership, for example. But when it comes to romance, if you are looking to really connect at a deep spiritual, sexual, intimate level, Saturn's going to check out whether the tie you're currently in really fulfills your need, or the tie that you're about to meet, or the person you're about to meet really fulfills your needs. Or you're really going to have such a frank set of discussions this month that it really accelerates the connection in such a passionate and uplifting and really fine way. It's one of the most powerful months I can remember for many, many years for you.